In Lebanon, clashes between protesters and police over the weekend left hundreds injured. Largely peaceful anti-government protests broke out 3 months ago in Lebanon as participants demand an overhaul of the political system and a solution to the country's economic crisis. But in recent days, the unrest has intensified.
It's being called the most violent weekend since Lebanon's mass protests began in October. Demonstrators threw stones and projectiles at police. Officers fired water cannon, rubber bullets, and tear gas in response. Sunday's clashes brought the total of protesters injured to some 500 this weekend.
Violence only breeds violence. At the end of the day, after all these months, the protesters just want to prove they exist. I don't blame them at all. Our most important demands are independence of the judiciary, an independent government of competent people, accountability, early elections, and returning looted money.
Anger at corruption and economic mismanagement have long fueled the protests. On Sunday, demonstrators smashed windows at shops linked to a minister within the outgoing government. The protest movement helped topple that government in late October, and efforts to forge a new one are still stalling. Protesters say they fear their key demands are being ignored as top officials try to agree on a new cabinet.
DW correspondent Bassel Aridi is in Beirut covering this story for us and joins us now from there. Bassel, the protesters had already succeeded in bringing down the government. What are they so angry about now?
After more than 90 days of continuous mass protest in Lebanon, the protesters find that believe that the current authorities act the same old way. In other words, means that the political parties are asking for their own share of the new government, ignoring the main demands of the protesters, which is forming a new government based on technocrats, experts, and to take the country out of its financial and economic crisis. And talking about this crisis, Lebanon passed in the several years through many economic or financial or political crises, but the combination of all these crises at the same time made one of the worst crises in Lebanon since its independence in 1943. And this is what made all the protesters and Lebanese angry that much.
What can you tell us about efforts that are underway to put together a new government?
The continuous intensive contacts and communication between major political parties going on, still in progress. Yesterday, there was a meeting between the designated Prime Minister Hassan Diab and President Michel Aoun discussing the forming of the new government, but it seems that it led to nothing. Today, the political parties, mainly the designated Prime Minister Hassan Diab, also had his own intensive contacts, mainly with Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri and other major parties, to move throughout this crisis or to open a gap or a hole in this major wall between the major political parties to form a new government, which is until this moment, it seems that it's not obvious that they're going to form a new government in the next few hours or next days. While on the other hand, yesterday there was some infos and some ambience around the country that the formation of new government will be achieved yesterday, but it seems that it doesn't happen.
Bassel, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. DW's Bassel Aridi there in Beirut.
Thank you.